bloc, that they unite, because I think these are the only organizations that will save this country from itself. Because you can see even the constitution that is there is not grounded on our values as Black people, and even what is happening currently in the country is not based on our values. You look at gender-based violence, it's not what African values teach us, because African values teach us to be compassionate to one another, to be kind to one another. But you can see what is happening. So I will just be here, listen to deliberations. Where I grab something, I will come and add my 2 cent view. But for now, I would like to pause here and I be excused and focus on this assignment that I have. But I'm here with you and I'm listening very attentively. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Where we are now, we've in the main we've had one input. The other input in the main was in agreement with the main input and an explanation that the participant would have wanted really to participate, but due to other commitments, she will not be able to really be with us as she wished. And the main input from Advocate Motlanthe is that the constitution drafting process was flawed. He spoke about specific process. He spoke about who the constitution seeks to protect, and he says and spoke about other things. But he says that is the position of AZAPO, and they wish to contribute in society in building the necessary knowledge system for the understanding of the constitution. Do we have any view that seeks to engage the views of perhaps Advocate Motlanthe? And what will do following? After that, we will give any other person an opportunity to make an input to the discussion as we'll guide it. Any view that anyone who seeks to engage Advocate Motlanthe, you can just simply come through without really raising a hand if there's anyone who intends to do it. This session is broadcast live stream on YouTube. I think later on you'll get the link and be able to follow it in your own space. Yeah, but we are inviting the contribution from anyone to engage the contribution by Advocate Motlanthe. Anyone? Anyone, if they are there, just come through and make your input. It appears that we don't have anyone intending to engage the input. Maybe it was so clear that we don't know which question to ask. But yeah, it's fine. Mr. Blue, you seem to have raised your hand. You can come through without being recognized.
Yeah, thanks, Chairperson. Look, I just wanted to I think there's Mr. Muhlaka. Oh, thank you. Look, man, I just wanted to join from what Advocate just highlighted or contributed with regards to. Maybe Chairperson, you can ask Muhlaka to mute. I will wait.
No.
Leadership.
Yes, Mr. Chief.
Yeah.
I think I pressed that by mistake.
Okay, sure.
I'm sorry. I pressed that. Yeah, sure.
Proceed,
Thanks,
Mr. Blue.
Thanks, Chairperson. Look, I was saying, like the Advocate is saying, that part of us losing the sense of ownership of this constitution, like he correctly said, to say it might partly be contributed to the fact that after deriving a mandate in moving towards CODESA discussions and constitutional reform. Those that were mandated never bothered to come back to debrief the community and society at large to see if the principles that might have been communicated or contributed into the formation of a better constitution that is inclusive, particularly of the majority, are catered for. And it is clear that there was a reason that is to a large extent known by those few elites who were sent by the majority of our people to go and communicate a particular message. Then discussions might have ensued between the few who were there, and large population was used as a conduit to satisfying and protecting the interest of those few who participated in those processes. This we can see even today, which I think, Chairperson, at some point we might want to discuss it as a topic on its own, on the issue of coalition governments that are happening in our country. You will see that the reason why these coalition governments will never succeed in the country, it's because it's not one democratical, it's not constitution based, because it does not have the blessings of the people. You go into a ballot booth to elect a political party X. That political party X, you are with the understanding that it will do better than the political party A. But once they are there, they don't do the process of debrief to say, you send us to lead, but we could not be able to reach a required threshold. What then do we do? You understand? Because I think the only democratic way that is constitutionally sound, it will be for this country a failure for any party to reach the threshold as per the requirements. There must be a rerun of elections, and we should not cite the issues of budget and whatnot, because the very same budget, that is the one that made me move from party A to party B, with the understanding that party B will be better than party A. But because the elites are never respecting the constitution, the process of consultation is only one way. When you mandate, there's no feedback, there's no reconsultation and debrief process that is taking place, where you will hear a view from the very same people who sent you there. You decide there alone as elites to form coalition governments with parties that individual South Africans never wanted to see in government. So it's such practices that you see that can tell that in fact our constitution in the country, it is designed in a way that it will forever protect and the interest of those few. Largely for the protection of the white minority, who are always rejoicing when they see such flip-flops happening, because they know if you have paralyzed the system in the manner that they did by making the constitution a supreme law of the country, knowing that in the constitution the majority do not necessarily have rights as it might be claimed. So for them, the further confusion, which brings a lot of divisions amongst us as people of the South and children of this soil, it forever benefits them. So I want to concur with advocate insofar as our constitution inability to actually speak and protect the majority of the people of this country. I mean, I was laughing the other time, engaging some of the professionals from legal fraternity to say, I've never even heard in the constitution as a victim of a crime. No one will ever read rights for me. But a criminal is the first person that derives rights from the constitution of the country, because he's the only one who will be read their own rights. There's no one who will come to you as a victim and say you have right to be protected. You have a right to a speedily resolution of your matter and all those kind of things. But the criminal is the only one who is accorded such rights by the Constitution. It says, in conclusion,
Mr. Constable, let's have a conversation.
The Constitution of our country needs to be revisited so that it encompasses the majority view as opposed to individuals. Thanks, Chairperson.
Sorry for interrupting, Mr. Constable. I think we should attempt to have a conversation. We should give a specific person an opportunity, and then they comment on a specific issue. They pass the baton to the next person. You can imagine if I were to start abusing this platform, the next thing you are listening to me, all of you. So, well, it's fine. But thanks for the contribution. Before that, there was only one hand raised to contribute to Advocate Ntlante's contribution, and Constable's input in essence is in agreement with Advocate Ntlante's contribution. Do we have any other hand? If we don't, what we're going to do whilst Constable Bloom is still on the floor, we can give him the last bite to make his fresh view, not as an input to Advocate Ntlante's views. And in that respect, if he does that, can we be as quick as we reasonably possibly can be, so that we give others an opportunity to engage you, Mr. Bloom. Can you do that, Mr. Bloom? Do we have any fresh idea that you want to contribute? Mr. Bloom? Oh, no, it's fine.
I think I lost you there because I'm using my phone, so there was a call coming, so it disturbed the audio on my side. So I'm going to leave and rejoin quickly because it had affected the audio.
Yes, no, I was saying that in essence, let's have a conversation to talk, give us others an opportunity. You did that. It was a bit long, but then this time around, we're saying before you sit down, if you have any fresh view, not as an input to Advocate Ntlante's views, if you have any fresh view, you are invited to make that contribution, and we invite others to comment if they may to your view, and we take it from there go to the next stage. Remember, the subject of discussion is our constitution in a conquered society, so that is what should inform your view. The platform is yours if you've got any view.
Okay, thanks. No, I think with the contribution that I made, I will want to pack it there to allow other speakers to be able to engage further.
Thank you so much for the contribution. Do we have any other person who wishes to make any contribution? The topic, as I said a little bit earlier on, is our constitution in a conquered society, whether it may indeed serve as the basis for justice to our people, for economic purposes, education purposes, environmental purposes, any other purpose, equality as well, human dignity, if you like, and all other rights that may be the constitution. Those are some of the considerations you may have. And do we have anyone who's ready to make any inputs? You're more than welcome to come to the floor. Remember, we are live on YouTube. These proceedings are also recorded, and the permanent feature on YouTube will still be accessed in the attraction or any other things. Anyone contributing? Do we have any other contribution, gentlemen and gentlewomen? Mr. Mutante has raised the hand. Let's recognize him. You can shoot, sir.
I'm very sorry coming back for the second time. I think what we need to be also looking at is what are the key principles that needs to inform our constitutional framework? What are those values that need to guide us in terms of what needs to be happening to our constitution, and not only our constitution, but also our laws? I've seen a submission by the BLA with regard to amending the interpretation clause, with regard to how do you then make sure that the laws in the country are interpreted in a manner that they reflect the values of the people of the country. But at the same time, like I said earlier, that the Constitution is configured as a way to allay the fears of the minority and protect their rights against the majority. Because if you look at the Constitution, it's only good for protecting minority rights. So we need to then say, can we have a constitution that seeks to address the fact that we are a conquered nation that needs to put in place laws that address all the issues that will lead towards what is called freedom, and that is a total freedom. And earlier, my sister mentioned that she has got an assignment that says, do we need to teach values in the TVET level? That is late, actually. Our education system is so bad. Values are things that you teach in the first 8 years of a child. If you miss the first 8 years in teaching values, you will never be able to have long-lasting impact in terms of values being sustainable. But our education does not teach any values at the beginning. I'll use an example. In the Asian countries, a child does not start school unless they've spent a year at the Buddhist temple, where they are taught about the religion and all that. They can choose to go on and become a monk, but then they go back into society, live a proper life, and later as adults, they can choose to go back. But during that 1 year where each and every child has to spend, that's where the values are taught. In the African context, and I know from Bampedi culture, the initiation schools are not only for circumcision, they were meant to ensure that an age group has got the same values and the same attitude towards life. But we don't have that. So we need a constitution to address that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any input? Mainly, I think advocates' input is that values which should base the constitution. Whose values are they? They spoke about other things. Any input from anyone? Advocate, let me engage you on the contribution you've made. Why do you raise the issues of or the issue of values? Are they challenges so far as the values which inform the constitution?
Mr. Chidi, am I audible?
You are, Mr. Kuyan.
Yeah, my network is very, very erratic.
I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry for that. You are in a good part of the country, but yeah, welcome.
Yeah, I know it is very erratic. No, look, I listened to the previous speakers, Mahatla and the Constable Silibedi. Yeah, I think he said this Silibedi. Bloom is not the surname. And then Advocate Mutlanti. Yeah, I also wanted to comment on the issues of values. To say that it is very unfortunate that when the writers of the Constitution were busy compiling this Constitution, they had forgotten the social fabric and what brings us together, our common values as African people who happen to be the majority in this country. You look at the Constitution that would, for an example, celebrate property rights, whereby one individual or a particular company can own a land as big as from Nelspruit to Polokwane, for an example, and it is morally unacceptable. To to the Constitution and to the law, that a person can own such. And when you look on the other hand, you find that the majority of our people are landless. They are confined in small spaces. When there is a piece of or a big piece of land that is available, but because someone owns it and is enshrined by the Constitution, that person, it is morally acceptable. So it's for me the most tragedy that happened with the Constitution. Look at one of our most important value as Africans, that is that of both. You don't see anywhere where the Constitution talks about both, in the Constitution. And yet that is what defines us as African people. But no one ever thought that it would be very important that such an important value principle should be enshrined and should be the guiding factor in how we seek to construct our social life, But then I would also want to pose the question: if we say that then that this value system is important, question that I would raise then would be that are the values static or are they dynamic? Meaning to say that we can sit here, I can sit here advocating for the African value system, but is that what the majority of our people would still identify with? Are they static or are they, so that is the question that I grapple with. That if I go out there and say, to our people that some of them have bought into this concept of that it is morally acceptable that one can own a large chunk of a piece of land, would it be acceptable to them? And that's why I'm posing that question. Is this value system static or is it dynamic? And if it's dynamic, if we were to come together, what would we identify ourselves as? What value system would we say that this is what we want to see of ourselves going forward? Thank you, Chair.
Well, welcome for the contribution, Mr. Rian. It's a contribution to the value part of the debate, the value, foundational values of the Constitution. And I think it's a point made clear. I did not add anything. I don't necessarily have the right to do so. Rather, I should invite any other person to come through and make any contribution deemed in the circumstances necessary. Any inputs, various issues raised, but in the main so far, the value system. Mr. Malachi, do you have any view? Mr. Malachi? Are you watching football, Mr. Malachi? Are you there? Right. I thank you so much. I since there's no one who's
I'm here, Chairperson, but I have challenges to network.
where were you, my leader? Were you sleeping?
I'm here.
Were you sleeping?
So, no, I'm not sleeping. It's network issues, my leader. Network issues.
Yes. Yet again, we need to remind those who may not be aware, because there's network challenges from time to time. We are live on YouTube, and a video of this proceedings is generated automatically. So yeah, you are more than welcome to make your input. Mr. Malaj. Mr. Malaj, is it the network issue? But you missed
Mr.
it.
Chini.
Oh yeah, welcome. Sure.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm struggling with network.
Yeah, but now we can hear you.
Yes. What were you saying?
Were you able to follow the proceedings? If you were, we are inviting you to make any input you think necessary.
I followed the last part, not the entire session.
Yeah.
So,
yes. Do you have a contribution to make?
I'm disadvantaged to waffle. I'm
Sorry?
disadvantaged to waffle. I'm disadvantaged to waffle. So I will keep quiet for now, because the network issues disadvantage me. Isn't it that when you found a moving train, then you'll be disadvantaged to make a contribution at a later stage, because the debates that I found were robust in a way.
Oh, all right. So
Yes.
it appears you haven't looked for a job in Gauteng, because there we were using trains. You know, when they are moving it, we go in as they are moving.
Maybe I'll catch the next one that is coming, because I'm told there's a multi-speed train that will be coming from Joburg to Polokwane, so I'll catch that one.
Yeah, well, of course, when you are 16, no, it's fine. Welcome. Thanks very much for coming through. Advocate, maybe I should come back to you. What is the essence of the submission by the BLA? I haven't seen it. I don't know about it, but you seem to be saying that they are saying, you know, the interpretation of the law should be beneficial to the people. But in essence, what are they saying? Advocate Mtante?
Yeah, no. When you call my name, I first have to go and press buttons. Okay. My understanding of the submission that was made was, how is it that you can talk about development of the law using common law, which is a foreign law, while ignoring African law. And my further understanding of that.
That submission is ours, Advocate Mlante. You mean the one that was made in Parliament?
Yeah.
No, it's ours.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
Okay. Oh,
So,
yes, no, it's of Africana Justice Association. It's not of the
yes.
BLA, but it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, and I get it under from the BLA where I'm sitting. So the underlying values, like I usually use this as an example. I say, when you go to England to conduct business, it's expected of you to know their cultures and values in terms of how business is conducted. When you go to China, the same is expected of you. When you go to Japan, they expect you to behave and bow down and all those things. But when you come to Africa, no one does business in the African way. Everyone does business in the European way. What happened there? And we do have business principles that are applicable to Africans, but we just choose not to do those ones. But that is just an example. The truth of the matter is that even the law needs to be developed in such a way that it makes sense. We're not talking about values that are ancient, traditional, old values that one will be talking about. Pre-colonial behavior was like this. Long gone. We can't do that. We need to have a unified value system that will then be inform our approach to how things need to be done and how our constitution and our laws need to be configured. Ubuntu is one aspect of it. But I know I've read a PhD paper and it landed on my table that says, at what point are we going to have a Black conscious jurisprudence in terms of how we draft and interpret our laws in South Africa? That is a narrow kind of interpretation, but it's an interpretation that will be most relevant to 81% of the population in the country. Thank you.
Thanks for the contribution. Well said, I believe. Just on that very point you were making, at what point do you think we should gravitate on a serious note towards that approach?
Truth is, we are late. That's why society is unstable. The instability in our society is not because of service delivery. It's because we do not have a unifying ideology. Like you look at places like Britain, the British Empire mentality still unifies them. You look at a country like South Korea, me against the world attitude unifies them. You look at a country like the USA, it's me against the world again, and the American dream, internally, externally. In South Africa, I usually say to people, what is the whole purpose of our government? And I've never received an answer to that. Departments can tell you that we want to build roads, but why do you want to build roads? Department of Health will say we want to make health accessible, but why do you want to make health accessible? We do not have a unifying philosophy that says this is where this country is going. We did not do that. And I don't see us doing it because at this point in time, the only unifying philosophy is I want to make more money than the next person, which is an individualistic. And it serves some people because they have sorted themselves up. You will never catch up in a race where people have started earlier. You'll never catch up. You'll always be chasing. But if we were to create a unifying philosophy that guides our values and behavior, it becomes easy to then create a society that, in Azapo we call it creating an egalitarian society. Egalitarian does not mean that you do not recognize the differences. It's just that you make sure that the best in people you can bring out the best in people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Puyan, you made as a question a point about values, and your point was whether the values are static or do they evolve. But was that question limited to African values, or was it a general question to any other society?
No, my question was just a general. It's not limited to the African society. But what, in essence, what I wanted to transmit was to say that like correctly Advocate Motlanthe has put it.
If you can speak a little bit up.
Yeah, if you go to these other countries whereby they have this identifying value system, in South Africa, you find a land that was conquered and where everyone, it's free for all, for everybody. Now my question is now that even if we as Africans, we say that this is our value systems as South Africans, when you consider all this that has happened, can we unite and resuscitate those values? Or would you have a society that has shifted its value system into something else because of what they have been influenced by? And then that's the question that I wanted to, that I had intended to communicate.
Yes. No. Do we have anyone who can engage that question? I think it's an important question. Do we have anyone who wishes to engage that question? Do we have anyone intending to do that? I see now it's 10 minutes before 8 o'clock. We can push for the next 10 minutes. And we wrap up as we get to 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock and Patrice. Yes, the question of values. Do we have anyone who intends to make a contribution? I have a thought that I should always be the last one, or if I'm covered, never come. Do we have anyone? Mr. Puyan, allow me to move from the chair's chair and descend to the floor.
Yes.
Look, in my view, societal values at all material times, they do not change. What changes is dynamics, in my view. If, for instance, we talk about Ubuntu, it has its own elements, carrying, sharing, and all of that. Now, if you go back to the time when this value was very evident, people did not have fences and they stayed close to each other. A child of one household would sleep in the other family's house. And at the time, a man would have a number of women or wives, and they would live as one family. They shared everything, from food, from wood, from everything. and their children jointly looked after cattle. That is what epitomized Ubuntu at the time. Now it changes as you go to allocated stands, and lately you have people erecting fences and all of that. You know, both would remain, but how we practice it would be different. There's a stage when power was defined by animals, access to natural resources, and there was no money. To demonstrate that I want to support my brother's household, I would say I've got sufficient cattle, come look after my cattle. Annum, you get a number of cattle. Over 3-4 years periods, you have amassed enough, you can go and start yours. And some will say it was a little bit exploitative because they work without being paid. But if you check, the only way for you to have access to resources at the time was to, look after somebody's cattle and other animals. You have yours and go and start their own life. Now, if you were to do that in our current society, it would not be acceptable because the way things are done in society have changed, but the value still remains. The value is that you should not be without when I have. So I'm going to let you in my life, give you access to the little I have, give you sure, go and start a school. Now, can we have unified values? My view is we'll never be unified. When you make rules, you don't necessarily say whether people agree with them or not. When you had the smoking law, many people were opposed to it, but now they understand why, because it's in the best interest of the children, of women, and the vulnerable that you shouldn't smoke near them. When they want to, they may not have a problem, but it is not in their best interest. Now, in the context of the South African society, the value system that you need to have, for instance, of sharing, we're talking about the Ubuntu. It's a universal principle. All cultures have it. All religions have it. All of them. You can think about the most known and the ones which are the African religion and others. At the center of most of this religious programs, it's Ubuntu. So you can have that as a value, and there are people who are going to oppose it. But the fact that they're opposing it doesn't mean that it can bind them. If we make it and it becomes law, it will bind them whether they like it or not. And that is the only thing we lack, a sense of direction from leadership, that this is what we want to achieve. And we are in Africa, and the loss of Africans are going to find anyone who finds themselves. And it's something that, that's my little contribution. I'm not sure, and I don't want to assume that there's no any other person who want to make some contribution. I want to assume that there's one or two people. We're left with 4 minutes. If we can use this 4 minutes, maybe 1 or 2 people, you can take up all the time. If it's only one person. And maybe to establish, do we have people who want to make some contribution? To start with, I've got my brother here. He's with me in our studio.
May I?
Yes.
Thank you very much, facilitator. I want to start from a very, I would say, stupid remark that we speak about the Commonwealth and the what is not common. Yet we are always being taken to the control of the Commonwealth. Are we conscious of what is happening? Are we not being indirectly being colonized indirectly by Britain? Number two, why would AfriForum attack whatever contribution is made to lift up the black man's aspirations. You studied from the all the laws which are intended to uplift a black man, they will always be against that. Then that is where I have a problem with what do we do? Because we seem to be so fragmented as Africans, not have a common goal to attack what is being brought by these other people. The other thing is there is question of every time in the lips of everybody that we must change the constitution. Is it a prudent exercise, or should you specifically look at the specific sections? We speak about section 25, but in section 25, there are also remedies which can really obviate this type of amendment, and let us just address those which are available to us. Now, my question is, I know, Mr. Chidi, you addressed the parliament and everything. Would you tell me that what we've been doing there, people appreciate the magnitude of the problems the people on the ground are experiencing? Lastly, without taking more time, I would want you to comment on the issue of the ICC. Are we really obliged or not to do what the International Criminal Court is saying about South Africa? What is that which we benefit from the ICC? And if we are not to abide, what consequences will follow us? Thank you very much.
We are heading toward thanks Dr. Makwela. I hope you did introduce yourself. It's Mr. Makwela. He's a senior attorney here in Brooklyn. He's with me where I am. He raised a number of issues. Do we have any reply from anyone from the issues he raised? There are questions he raised insofar as the association is concerned and its contribution to Parliament. If any answer, 30 seconds, I think we'll be able to give that. But before we do that, do we have anyone who would want to engage his thoughts on the issues raised, Mr. Advocate Mplante, if you may come through?
Sorry, I think you have now realized that I'm a hyperactive person. So, like
I'm 16 years old.
and
No,
for that
proceed,
matter,
proceed,
most
sir.
people don't know that I'm past 50.
Yeah, proceed.
Like the frustration, which I'm sure you also experienced, is when you are addressing our politicians in Parliament. It's like you are speaking something out of this world. The quality of the politicians we have been sending to Parliament has deteriorated with each and every election. And it's not going to help us because those people are not equipped to change society. They are there to eat. And it's so frustrating because no matter how much us as technocrats want to make an input, it falls on deaf ears. And all of them have got wide policy advisors. That means that the key issues about Black issues will never find the light of day at the right places. Thank you.
Thanks for the contribution. Maybe just as a last bite from anyone who would want to make any contribution. Mr. Koibu, do you want to come too? And I know it will be controversial for you to do so. Mr. Palat, do you want to come too?
Okay, good evening, colleagues. No, I think mine will be just short. Look, we did receive your input. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, yeah. Look, we did receive the input from the organization. So what I can assure you is that we are in the process of deliberating on your input, and then the members will then decide, maybe by way of vote or by way of consensus, that they will move forward with your proposal in the form of a report that goes to the National Assembly. So if it goes to the National Assembly, it will again be deliberated in the form of a debate. And then if the National Assembly agrees, then that's when the process of amending will kickstart. But bear in mind again that we are in a situation. I was involved with the committee that was tasked with amending Section 25. It's like it was a half-hearted will to do that, maybe from the ANC. But mind you again that the ANC lost that 2/3 majority they used to enjoy. So there is also another hurdle that if political parties don't agree, remember your submission that you may find stiff opposition, maybe from the likes of maybe the Democratic Alliance, who will favor their own maybe European law and Roman Dutch law. So then it will definitely need, maybe if the ANC can agree with maybe the EF, so maybe some way of lobbying can also assist maybe with the other political, like, maybe progressive political parties, like maybe the EFF, if they can buy it, so that at least that 2/3 majority can be attained, So I think that's where I can stop for now.
Thanks for the update. He coordinates the Constitutional Review Committee, before which we made submissions, and our approach is always, and of course I link this with the contribution by Advocate Tantum. Our approach is always to try, even when it appears to be, difficult, to be positive and make that contribution. Not necessarily that our contribution will be agreed upon now, but remember, change is coming. Come what may, there's going to be change. And when that change comes, we're going to go back to the material that was produced by distinguished scholar Dlamini, who wrote from late 1980s, and many others were supposed to be with Prof. Ramos tonight. They've been writing for many years, and they were writing, not really saying that their work is going to be agreed upon as at the time on the road, but there's time when society may need to collate that work and say, how can this work guide us? And that is where we move from, and whether we agreed upon currently or not, it's something else. That should allow us to go to David. David, are you still here? Perhaps any announcement that you have before we close the session? As I said, it's live on YouTube. It's recorded. Mr. Mati?
Good evening, everyone. My name is David Mati, as the chairperson has indicated. In terms of announcement, I don't know, Chair, if you can allow me, I just want to share, or it does not allow. I wanted to share, we have an event that is taking place on the 18th of this month, and just try to read out the details of the event so that at least people are aware of what event we are likely to have very soon. We are going to have same horror conversation. The event will be hosted by Advocate Sipho Mantula, and then our guest will be Dr. Sello Halane. The topic that we're going to be hosting it will be works and copyrights lost to the Western world and the effect of the international law on such lost works and rights. So you will get the link for the event the very same way that you were invited for the same event that you are attending. So over and above, I would also like to just appreciate contributions made by all individuals that communicated and participated in the session. Your inputs are very much valuable. We really appreciate the insight that you have shared, and also the time that you had spent with us here, regardless of the challenges that you may have of load shedding. But then, majority of you have been here up until the end of the session. Chairperson, I'm not going to waste much of the time. I can realize that many may have other commitments to attend to, so I will pause it there.
Thank you so much. David is our brightest young member of the association is with us. Maybe the last point that we need to indicate is that we have not had women on this platform. Fortunately, there is a session going to have, and it's about a very provoking woman whose life we need to celebrate, the first African woman to have a degree. And we hope that women, young girls, boys, men, can learn from the contribution of Charlotte Mahom. Manye, we may call it that. It's likely to come on Africa Day, the 25th of May. And you can imagine why that day, the mother of the continent, its life should be celebrated. And we'll communicate that as we go on. Thanks very much for your contribution. We'll share the link and share it with others. And we hope that this debate will play the level contribution that it ought to make, regardless of the challenges we're faced with. We must still play our little role from all corners. Leaders may not agree with us, but they may be the current leaders. The future leaders may agree with us, whether we're still alive or not. Work such as this recorded may look very small because we're few, but surely it may be retrieved in 5 years and somebody relies on it for an important contribution to the society. Thank you so much. We'll meet on the 18th of April, of May, should I say, not April. That is next Thursday. We'll share all the information. Thanks very much for being with us. Good night. Thank you.
Good night.